Hello, I'm Dr. Steve Hassan, and it is Wednesday, July 9th. We are live streaming at 3 p.m. We had to adjust the 1 p.m. planned live stream, but happy to be here with you to answer your questions. So much going on. Where to start? Well, the mega bill got rammed through, and it was a monstrosity that caused Elon Musk to call it an abomination and threaten to start, and did start, his own party. And he's going to go after congressional seats at the encouragement of Curtis Yarvin, the guy who's into destroying democracy and creating a CEO network state type of international government. What else is happening? We have tariffs that Trump is threatening. That's causing all kinds of economic problems for us and other countries. We have the big flood with over 100 people who've died, and clear evidence of global warming, and defunding governmental organizations designed to warn people of impending disasters. And my understanding is that part of the reasoning of Trump's people is they want to privatize warning people. So people will have to pay, and their cronies will make money instead of focusing on the public good and helping everyone, whether they have a lot of money or not. And the mega bill is going to increase our federal deficit by trillions of dollars while taking millions and millions of people off of Medicaid. Although my understanding is that the timing was set to kick in right after the 2026 elections, midterm elections next year. And it's going to be absolutely vital for starting now for messaging person to person, all around the country, especially red states, about what life is going to look like as prices go up because of the tariffs, and healthcare prices go dramatically up. The very, very wealthy are very happy to have additional tax benefits. They don't need them. So much going on to talk about. I'm here to answer your questions, but let me also invite you to know that tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm doing an Instagram Live with Monty Mader. A lot of people have listened to my interview with her on her podcast and her interview with me on my podcast and the blog, and people love her, and I do too. And if you're around tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, come check us out, because it'll be the first time we're interacting live with an audience, so you can bring your questions. If you haven't signed up for my free weekly email, please do that. You can go to freedomofmind.com, enter your email address, and confirm you want it. And come to my Substack. I did my first Substack live, and it was interesting, and a lot of people have restacked it, which I'm excited about. Okay, we're going to jump into questions. How do we break through to MAGA? How do we talk to them when they block any truth? So this is a continued question that I get regularly. And for those of you who have been following my work and reading my books and listening to me discuss, I will repeat that you have to engage in a warm, respectful, curious manner. Depends if you know this person historically, if they're a family member or friend. Don't start with politics. Just say, I miss you. How are you? What's going on? And find common ground to start. And if you had blocked them or hadn't invited them to Thanksgiving or whatever, or you called them names and they're angry at you, just apologize and ask for a redo. And the best, most effective way to get people to start reality testing is to express curiosity to understand what they're thinking or what their reaction is to a news event, and be a really good listener. Don't try to persuade, don't offer facts. If they ask you for facts, then by all means, deliver it back to them. But the idea that I'm trying to convey is that people will get out themselves. They're not going to react in a positive way if you try to persuade them or control them, or power over them, or by attacking Trump or the GOP or attacking the policies directly. But asking them questions that you think will be relevant to their life and what they think about things. And right now, there's this huge rift over the Epstein files. Remember the big conspiracy theory and Pam Bondi saying that it's all on my desk. And now they're saying there are no files. Well, we have long documentations of Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, pictures of him. I've been listening to Michael Wolff, who actually interviewed Epstein about Trump's involvement with him. If you don't know Michael Wolff, he's written some excellent books on Trump. Go check it out by all means. But this whole thing about Epstein has caused big MAGA people who are pushing the conspiracy theories to be aghast. So just understand, you need to tune into where the person is that you want to interact with, who's into MAGA, and find out what's important to them. And asking general open-ended questions and see what they bring up is the best thing to do. Let's see. It looks like Darissa Green. What can we say to those whose eyes are not open to this? Well, again, who is the person? Is it a coworker? Is it an old, friend of yours? Is it a family member? You're going to want to customize your approach. And if this person has been now conditioned from interacting with you where you've been trying to persuade them that they're wrong or they're in a cult, or that he's a malignant narcissist, you have to start again by developing rapport and trust so that you can interact. And and thank you, Nancy, you're a regular. Another super chat from Nancy Wallace. Thank you, Nancy. The key thing is connection. What's going to help millions of people exit MAGA in between now and the midterm elections, I believe, is going to be that warm personal interactions, not online with trolling and all of that, person to person connection, and asking warm questions. I'm curious, what do you think about what Musk says about the Epstein files? And if you know that they like Musk, you can ask them, I know you like Musk. What do you think about his war with Trump and Trump threatening to deport him? So you want to meet them where they're at and ask them questions that will be pertinent to them. I get a question: do you consider Peter Thiel and Yarvin beliefs a cult? Peter Thiel is the owner of Palantir. In my opinion, he's part of the tech bros: Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg. Yarvin has been pushing this network state ideology that we shouldn't have democracy. Democracy isn't functional. So we need to have like a dictatorship or a kingship or a CEO type of structure. And I highly recommend, if you haven't listened to my interview with Greg Epstein, Greg wrote a great book called Tech Agnostic. And Greg is the Harvard MIT humanist chaplain. And the thesis of his book is that big tech is the new world religion. They're pushing AI as God. They're pushing long-termism and accelerationism and transhumanism and crypto. And I think all of that looks like an authoritarian ideology to me. And the critical thing with whether or not people are close-minded is by interacting with them and asking them if they're open to other points of view, because you'd like to get their opinion. Because when I did my TEDx talk, How Can I Know If I've Been Brainwashed? I outlined a strategy that any human being can use for themselves to reality test. Because I know when I was in the Moonies, I didn't think I was in a cult and I didn't think I was brainwashed. And the formula really is take a time out from the constant reinforcement from whatever belief system you're in, learn about Lifton and Chinese communist brainwashing, study my bite model of authoritarian control, then seek out critics and former members and listen with an open mind to why they're critical or why they left the organization or group. And then reflect on your own experience. Go back in time in your mind. What did you think you were believing when you voted for Trump, for example, or this last election? And get people in touch with their own values. Let's see. Okay, Bridget, is it better to not try to convince others in MAGA? Is it better to carry the discussion? 1,000%. Trying to persuade with facts, logic, trying to force your opinion on cult members, it just activates the cult identity to perceive you as evil, to perceive you as persecuting them or victimizing them. You don't want to trigger thought stopping. You don't want to trigger phobias that have been installed. You want to engage them. And I always like to take the position of, hey, change my mind. I'm not set in stone. I want to pursue what's true. I want to look at evidence. I want to consider the evidence, and I'll make up my own mind. And I see this as a sign of flexibility, adaptability, and intelligence to be able to say, you know what, I did this and this and this based on the information that I had at the time, based on the experiences I had at the time. Now I know new information. Now I've had more experiences. And so I have a right to change my mind. And with all of the militarization in Los Angeles and the abductions of citizens and the challenge to birthright citizenship, it should be causing a lot of Hispanic Americans a lot of concern. I talked to numerous people, and they're freaking out that even though they're second, third generation American citizens, they may get picked up on the street and deported or sent to the first concentration camp that we've heard of, called Alligator Alcatraz. Let's see, John Steinheimer, super chat, $10. Thank you, John. It's infuriating as an atheist watching the majority of the world and our world leaders believing in some form of religion and supernatural thinking. It's like living in a madhouse. John, I hear you. I have many, many friends who are atheists, people part of the Skeptics organization. I myself am not. I consider myself agnostic. I'm open-minded, but it is infuriating for anybody to walk around thinking they have a pipeline to God, whether they're a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, whatever, that they themselves have this unique pipeline to God, and God tells them the truth, and everyone else is subhuman or inferior or in darkness. I just see us all on the same planet, and how human beings have been so successful as a species is through trust, through helping each other, and not allowing malignant narcissists like Trump to just cater to the billionaires and treat people like they're just numbers or subhumans. I'm a human rights person, and I really believe we need to support human rights, women's rights, gay rights, indigenous rights, trans rights. And it is crazy making to see people behaving horribly. Let's see. I'm having trouble, Jerry, reading the top line because there's something that says 67 on my screen. Thanks. It looks like Vanessa says, because you understand their mindset, do you think we need to be afraid of violence coming from them? I live in a neighborhood full of MAGA, and they know I'm a Democrat. Honestly, I worry about violence. I really do. I see the kind of treatment where people are using their cell phones to record abductions, improper, without court warrants, without due process. People are recording them, and they're getting arrested. And so yes, I am worried about violence, and all I can say is everyone has to assess their own individual level of risk. And I know that there are many more people than me who are much higher up on the enemies list, politicians, influencers with millions of followers. And if we can't turn the tide in the next year for the midterms and win back the House and the Senate, I really do worry for the future of this country. And so say, hey, hey, I don't understand why the Republicans can see the forest, can't see the forest for the trees. Can't they see in the end their constituents will suffer and vote them out? It's a really good question, and all I can say is, to the best of my ability to assess the calculus a lot of the GOP is using, is they're being told, don't worry about the 2026 election because maybe we'll declare martial law, or maybe we'll hack the algorithms, or maybe I read, I think it was today, where Trump wants to get rid of the postal service. You know, a lot of people vote through the mail. And if the postal service gets privatized, they can intercept a lot of votes. And so there's a lot of ways that Trump can hack the democratic process. And all I can say is I've been waiting for the powers that be, who care about democracy, to engage with me and other of my network to apply our expertise to the problem. And so far, the fact that I've authored The Cult of Trump is not enough, apparently, for a lot of the major powers to understand I have a framework to explain everything that's happened since the first election of Trump. Let's see. Jesus is Coming 22. Do cult using brainwashing like mind control on people? Not sure what that question is, but the terminology that I use is, for example, in my book, Combating Cult Mind Control, is mind control. But that said, brainwashing, coercive persuasion, coercive control are all synonyms of the same concept. But my experience is that it is hacking people's identities, their personalities, their ability to make independent decisions. And so if you study the influence continuum and bite model of authoritarian control, you can literally get a gauge on how healthy or unhealthy a particular relationship or group, whether it's a political group, a therapy group, a religious group, is. And I also want to say there are tens of millions of former cult members. We have tens of millions of us, and I'm doing what I can to encourage people to share their stories, because what I want the public to understand, it's not weak, stupid people who are in these mind control traps. It's people with good intentions. They believe in God, or they believe in spirituality, or being the best person, or helping society, and their minds got hacked. Let's see, Xtar Neon Raven, how do you open up people's feels and their connection to humanity? It's hard to feel good about hate. I agree. And I can tell you, because I've talked with thousands of people now over 49 years since my own deprogramming from the Moonies, that warm interactions with non-members is what gets cult members to start having dissonance against this black and white, all or nothing, good versus evil, us versus them mentality. So, quick personal story. When I was in the Moonies, I was fundraising in Manhattan in the summertime. It was like 90 plus degrees. And a man came over to me and said, "You look hot. Can I buy you a cold drink?" And as a Moonie, I saw them as Satan. And then the real me was like, yeah, I could really use a cold drink. And then my Mooney mind kicked in and said, well, let Satan's person do a good deed for one of God's people. So say yes. So I said yes to this guy, and he bought me a soda. And as I'm drinking it, he just said, I'm curious, when was the last time you talked with your mom? And it made me think it's been a few weeks. He said, hey, let me treat you to a phone call. And back then, there were rotary dial phones. I think he put in a dime or a quarter. And I called my mom. And this was a mini intervention, but it wasn't attacking the group. It was just a human being connecting to help another human being. But I remembered that intervention 49 years later, 50 years later. Let's see, KLW Quirk. Yeah, do you think this will have lasting legs with the cult? I'm going to ask people who are asking me questions to just, before they hit send, to make their question coherent. I'm not sure what that one means, so it's hard for me to answer. But I'm letting you know, mind control is not permanent. When I hear pundits saying people in the MAGA are impossible to reach, they're permanently brainwashed, it's just BS. And Elizabeth Greer, super chat, $1.99. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate your support very much. And please check out my Substack, Dr. Stephen Hassan. Check out my YouTube. We're developing a premium subscriber. membership thing, because we're trying to raise enough money so that we can do more messaging. I can work on more books and journal articles, do more research. And I've been supporting freedom of mind from my consultation fees throughout most of my career. And I really just want to do more to reach a bigger audience. And I'm waiting for somebody to give me a big grant or to partner with a nonprofit that has funding, so we can do so much more. And trust me, I could give a whole strategic plan for the next 10 years, maybe 20 years, if people wanted to sit me down and read my books and learn about this topic. Vanessa, is it ever dangerous to engage with them? I fear violence from them. MAGA neighbors have threatened us. When is it unsafe to discuss with them? I don't know. I can just say use your gut, and I would defer, if they're neighbors of yours, to smile and wish them a good morning. If you found their paper out in the street, bring it up and put it on their stoop. Do nice things, and that's going to, and humanize yourself is the best thing to do. And if MAGA people make a nasty face at you and you make a nasty face back, and then they start to call you names and then you call them names back, that's how we escalate into a real problem. Let's see, Cindy Bem88. Why does Mark Cuban praise Musk for starting a new political party? I don't know, but I worry about tech billionaires. And I know that Mark Cuban has been very anti-Trump. So maybe he's connecting with Musk on the trying to expose Trump as a bad thing for the United States. I know that Mark Cuban is against tariffs, being a business owner and someone who knows the financial markets. But I don't know is the answer. But feel free to ask people and learn more and share. Let's see. Florida Sunsets gave a super chat of $1.99. Thank you, Florida Sunsets. And I really truly worry about Floridians and this concentration camp called Alligator Alcatraz. The first time there's a hurricane, everyone's going to die who are in tents in this alligator area. So I'm very, very concerned. And what we don't want is for people to just close their eyes and pretend everything's going to be okay, or say, well, they're not coming after me, so why should I care? Because that's how Hitler took over Germany and attacked the world. It's like it matters, and we are our neighbor's keeper. Let's see, PMFG, are there ways to restore cult member beliefs that their perceived opponents are human and reduce the inhumane detached cruelty behavior? Let me see if I understand this question. Are there ways to restore cult member beliefs that their perceived opponents are? I don't think restore is the word you mean. I think you mean challenge or get them to reality test. But I'm telling you, do you know Daryl Davis? If you don't know who Daryl Davis is, look him up. This is a big black dude who plays incredible piano, and he's got over 200 people out of the Ku Klux Klan. And how has he succeeded in getting people out of the Ku Klux Klan? Because he has a beer with them. He's not intimidated by them. He plays great music that they like. And he engages them as a human being. And this is how we can break down this black and white, all or nothing, good versus evil, us versus them mentality. warmth. Does that mean that you can't, that you will be impervious if they try to punch you in the face? No. Be careful, protect yourself. Don't ever let anyone punch you in the face. But if you have an attitude of warmth and being a good person, and that emanates from you, it's how people from hate groups get out. I've talked to numerous people who were part of extremist hate groups, and they get out because they have positive experiences with non-believers, non-members of their cult. Let's see, X-Star Neon Raven, how can we be the therapist for people who are losing their minds and humanity? Well, therapists are mental health professionals, and if you have training as a mental health professional, I highly recommend take my course if you need CEU credits or not. And Joe, thank you for the super chat, $2. I appreciate it. But learn. The crisis we're in, from my perspective, worldwide, is we have a crisis of undue influence / mind control. And a lot of the bad stuff that's happening is coming through our phones and the 8 to 10 hours of influence that's being directed at us using our personal data points with algorithms, driving people to be more extreme on the left, driving people to be more extreme on the right, trying to create more and more uncertainty and anxiety and fear. And so we really want to be in control of our own minds and our own bodies. Excuse me. Let's see. Elizabeth Greer, super chat, $4.99. Thank you, Elizabeth. Will Bondi's nothing to see here announcement cause issues between her, Kash Patel, and the MAGA base? What will the fallout be? I see a lot of dissonance around the whole Epstein file thing, and I strongly recommend keep messaging about Epstein. And for those people who are critical of Bondi, saying there's nothing here anymore, when she said there was a whole file, and the MAGA base has been, talking about the conspiracy by the Democrats to hide the Epstein client files. Of course, Epstein had client files. Are you kidding me? If you obviously don't know much about traffickers, if you don't understand that a lot of what Epstein was involved with was gathering blackmail material against wealthy, powerful people. And my understanding, and it came from Craig Unger in his book American Compromat, was that Ghislaine Maxwell's father worked for Russia and the Mossad in terms of Epstein. Is that scary, or is that something hard to believe, that intelligence services were using a trafficker and underage girls to gather blackmail material on people? It's not. It's just the way it is. Because my understanding about state actors and state intelligence apparatus is you try to ideologically recruit them. If that doesn't work, offer them money. And if that doesn't work, blackmail them. Those are the three principal ways to get control over people. Let's see. Evan Wilder's Night Walks. What do you do when you listen and want to understand, but they pummel you with too many sketchy links? Great question. Thank you for that question. So setting boundaries is a crucial step and method that is critical to working with anybody in a mind control cult. And I saw this especially with QAnon folks back in 2017 and 18, where they would use the loaded terms, do your research, and then they'd give you 50 links. So what I learned to do very quickly is, hey, I'm interested in you. I'd like you to pick one link that you think was persuasive to you, and let's agree to watch it together, to go over it together. You can do it on Zoom, or if it's a video, watch it together. If you know the person in person, and you pause it and ask questions as you're watching it. But here's the thing. You don't want it to be one-sided where they're giving you a link and you're receiving it. You want to say, listen, out of fairness, after we do your link, I'd like to give a link and have you reciprocate, and we can watch the video together or go through the article together because I want to hear your point of view, and take turns. That's what I strongly recommend, because in the end, you might both change your minds on certain topics. You don't know what you don't know. Let's see. Tracy Eva gave a super chat of $4.99. Thank you, Tracy Eva. Though I could help fight the I guess I thought I could help fight the algorithm in X with truth, but now that Grok has gone full Nazi, I think I now need to leave X just to protect myself. Tracy, I'm always recommending protect yourself. And everyone who's listening to me, watching this video, you need to be responsible for your mental health and your mental well-being. You have to know when to turn off the phone. You have to know if a platform is taking more out of you than it's giving, then sure. And for me, if I wasn't a public figure wanting the world to understand what I've devoted my life to for these last 5 decades, I wouldn't be on social media. Or if I was, I'd be on it maybe twice a day for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon. Certainly not an hour before I go to sleep, because it's really affects my sleep if I'm on my phone at night. I listen to a peaceful piano playlist on Spotify regularly. I grew up playing the piano, classical music. So for me, peaceful piano is what I like to wind down my stressful days around. And yes, I did read about how Grok AI is going Nazi. And this is part of my worry about AI algorithms and lack of transparency of what kind of information is going in, what kind of amplification effects are being put in place. Melissa, why is there not a way to perform a mass reprogramming, or to use mind control to wake cult members up from the mind control they are in now? So the term that helped me get out, and the technique that helped me get out of the Moonies in '76, was deprogramming. That term was used to counter the programming that people had in cults. But the question about scale and mass is, like, I just want to say categorically, I don't believe in fighting fire with fire. I don't believe in me using hypnosis on people without their agreement under clinical circumstances. And I don't do hypnotherapy for this reason. I want people to trust me. I teach people about hypnosis. I tell them what to watch out for. I explain a lot of the linguistic techniques, especially it's rampant right now on the internet. But the point is I believe the best vehicle for mass influence is getting former members of cults, whether you were born in it or you got recruited and left, having them learn about the influence continuum, the bite model, malignant narcissism, doing trainings for former members, and let them share their stories and interact with MAGA people. For me, that is really effective. And guess what? There are a lot of ex-MAGA people now coming out. I've seen many vets who voted for Trump, who got fired from civil service, who are aware of the cuts to the VA, who are pissed off at Trump. Let's empower them. Let's amplify their voices. I'm seeing farmers speak out, cattle ranchers. Nancy Wallace, I have friends who are more afraid of Vance should he succeed Trump. I don't feel he has the carefully crafted cult of personality that Trump came through. Thoughts? I worry more about Vance too. Vance was hand selected by Peter Thiel, and he is more coherent and is more able to be controlled by the billionaires and the Putins and other people. So I do worry about Vance, and I forget who is suggesting this, but to make Trump paranoid about Vance, to get Vance out of power. Of course, if Trump dies or something happens with Trump, Mike Johnson, the Christian dominionist who wants to make us all white and abolish the separation of church and state, becomes the most powerful person in the United States. So we're in a whole boatload of problems, but we need to definitely keep hope. It definitely matters that to show protests in every major city regularly, calling politicians regularly, and we have to focus on the midterms. And I really, if you know any politicians, tell them to learn about brainwashing and mind control, and let's do a massive education program to explain to the public how the mind can get hacked. Let's see, Lynn on TikTok asks, how do you deal with despair? It's all quite oppressive. Great question. So for me, I need to share my life for a moment with you and say that part of what helped me get out of the Moonies was I fell asleep at the wheel of a van, and I almost died in that van crash, and I was rescued by emergency technicians who said, I can't believe you're alive and survived this crash. And that led me to the hospital, and that led me to my sister's house where I experienced the deprogramming. So the way my mind has worked for 49 years is I could have died in that crash. Maybe I should have died in that crash, but I was saved. And so every day is a gift. And so I bring this mentality of gratefulness to my life and to my spiritual practice. And I also want to quote Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived 4 concentration camps, who refused to give up hope and give in to the Nazis. He said, they can humiliate me, starve me, beat me, torture me, but I have control of my own mind and my own reactions to these things. And he survived the concentration camp experience, lived to be, I believe, 92. I think he got something like 27 honorary doctorates for his logotherapy. So have hope and understand being alive is a gift. And if we get too negative, go listen to music, go dance, go play with puppies or cats, or go swimming, or do something fun. Get back in your body. Okay, let's see. SCB 1917, MAGA QAnon reached Europe during COVID. It's hard to not react when a parent only believes them and tries to give you so-called facts that are lies. How can I deflect calmly to use your strategy? So it sounds like you have a father or a mother who is into QAnon. I included QAnon in my book, The Cult of Trump. I have QAnon evaluated under the BITE model on my Substack that you can check out. But what you're asking me is how to not get triggered when someone you care about deeply says stupid things or crazy things and insists that they're right and you're wrong. It's called emotional regulation. It's and it's a technique, and it is something you can practice and get better and better at. And honestly, because this is my profession, I've learned how to listen and breathe and stay centered and understand, okay, this person is in a brainwashed mind control cult. I remember I used to be like that. And let me take things in small bite-sized pieces with this person. And again, avoid argumentation and persuasion. And if they're trying to just bludgeon you with the same nonsense over and over again, you need to just say, I hear you saying this, this, and this. Did I get that right? And they'll go, yes. You say, I don't need you to repeat it again. I get it. This is what you believe. And if they do it again, you just say, when you repeat it again, it just feels like you're trying to bludgeon me, and it turns me off. If you really care about me and want to teach me something that you think is valuable, do it in a way where I can listen to you and interact with you. So let's see. H. Charles 25. How do I donate money to you? I honestly don't know at the moment, but contact center at freedomofmind.com. We are not a 501c3, so we are not a nonprofit. So unfortunately, you can't take it as a tax write-off. But honestly, we really need to bring in a lot more money to keep this work going and to hopefully get a bigger and bigger audience and do training courses and go out state by state and do trainings with people who want to learn from me how to talk. And I have started a book on how to talk to MAGA and woke people who are extreme on the other side. Yes, authoritarian mind control exists along the entire political spectrum. But I have a lot I want to share, and I can. Let's see, the art of starting. I sometimes think about sending articles or video clips about things I know my loved one cares about, like Epstein. How do we know when it's wise to send this information and when it's wise not to push? Great question. Thank you. I never recommend just sending articles or video clips outright. What I recommend is having a relationship with the person and then messaging them that you saw a video or you saw an article. You would love to share it with them and get their opinion. Are they open to you sharing it? So you're honoring their freedom to say no, and then you need to follow up, though, because if you're asking for their opinion, you have to be prepared to listen to what their opinion is. I am a big fan of in real life interactions, especially with family members and friends. And if they're far away, I'm a big fan of recommending video conferencing, whether it's Zoom or FaceTime or something, because you can see people's reactions and listen to the tone of their voice and make eye contact and such. And after that, I recommend a phone call. Even though you can't see, you can still learn a lot by the tonality of the person's voice. Texting and email is the worst way to convey meaningful things in my world. So please think about that hierarchy. Let's see. K Clock. Dr. H, do you think SCOTUS is in the cult of Trump? Absolutely. I'm not surprised by their feeding the culture wars around LGBT rights, and they are also enabling illegal behavior related to immigrants. Yeah, so I highly recommend a look at my interview with Gareth Gore. He is a UK financial journalist who wrote a book on Opus Dei called Opus. And Opus Dei is behind the Federalist Society and Leonard Leo and putting the 6 justices up. Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, Opus Dei. And I have Opus Dei in the cult of Trump as one of the main cults. And are these justices following the script? Yes. Did these justices lie when they were being questioned of whether or not they were suitable to go on the Supreme Court? Yes, they lied. They were against Roe v. Wade, and they wanted to get rid of it. This was part of their recruitment into the Federalist Society. And it's very concerning. And again, I am hoping that we can reinstall checks and balances in our nation's political system and either expand the Supreme Court, create term limits, do something, because they are not thinking of the public good, nor are they following the Constitution. Let's see, if something coming to me would be good. So I also wanted to mention Ground News. Ground.news is an aggregator of news, and it takes a coherent story and talks about these are the places that wrote about it on the blue side. These are the sources that wrote about it on the red side, and you can read the different perspectives. And I highly recommend that if you want to sign up for Ground News, use the code CULTEXPERT, and we may get a little tiny piece of the subscription of that. And Cami Time Slot mentioned this a bit ago. Yes, our audience's highest active point is 3 to 4 p.m. Yeah, I'm open in the future to doing live streams at 3 to 4 if Jerry's available. 3 to 4. Jerry is our volunteer who's been helping us go live. So thanks for those messages. Joe says, what do you understand as the powerful mechanism of coercing followers to protect the leaders from themselves, hiding the fatal flaws, even at the followers' terrible expense? So my understanding, because I was in the Moonies and all of these years of working with people, is the best model to understand it is a dissociative disorder model, where the real Steve, it was here, the Mooney Steve got programmed. Let's see if I can move it over here. The real Steve was still there, but the Mooney Steve got taken over, and the Mooney Steve was programmed with BITE techniques to always defend Moon, the divine principle doctrine, the policies of the Moonies, to do thought stopping, had phobias in his mind. In other words, the cult identity was a clone of the cult leader or the ideology. So, and Trump was programming and recruiting people to believe that he was representing them by kind of highlighting some of their disgruntled behaviors. But now that he's ingratiated himself with the billionaires and the fossil fuel corporations and giving greater tax cuts and defunding Medicaid when he said he wouldn't, I think that there's going to be dissonance between what people thought they were voting for and their MAGA identity. Dr. H, can you shed light on the Trump administration and MAGA followers taking pleasure from the horrific things being done to immigrants in society? It is frightening to see. Thank you. So human beings, we are social creatures, and understand we may like to think that we're individual, but we're social. We like to think we're logical, but we're mostly emotional. And neuroscience research is now documenting the fact that our brains can entrain to other people's brains. And so you've heard of mob psychology, where people lose their sense of values and do crazy things and criminal things. This is a feature of that same phenomenon. So how somebody acts when they're in a group is going to be different one-on-one. And I always recommend, especially if you're talking to a family member or a friend, do it one-on-one. If there's a cult member standing next to the person, that's not a time to have a meaningful conversation aimed at encouraging questioning and reality testing. It just isn't. Let's see, Lucy Lou 3131 on TikTok asks, there are so many different cults involved in our government now. Won't they clash with each other? This is a great point. It's one of the inherent flaws or weak areas that our side needs to exploit. The Christian nationalists don't like the tech bros who are atheists, or the Christian nationalists don't like the gay people like Peter Thiel. And so there are natural points where there can be real dissonance to exploit people's the fact that they aren't aligned. Richard, are Jewish ultra-Orthodox groups in the category of a cult? Richard, there are Jewish cults, Christian cults, Muslim cults, Hindu cults, Buddhist cults, and every other type of cult. And the way I think of things is I recommend download this. It's on freedomofmind.com. Influence continuum, ethical all the way to unethical, authoritarian control. Look up my bite model. This you can download too. Sleep deprivation, changing clothes, etc. Information control, thought control, emotional control. And you can determine if a group is an authoritarian mind control cult just by looking at the behaviors. And yes, I did include Netanyahu and the religious messianic extremists in my book, The Cult of Trump, by the way, that came out initially in 2019. Jane, the message. Oh, I see we're at 4. So this will be my last question responding for the day. And then come join me on the Instagram Live tomorrow with Monty Mader and bring some more questions. Is there any advice on how to support people who are feeling extreme despair and even suicidality because of the cult of cruelty taking over the government? So I believe that there are intentional algorithms that people are being subjected to make them want to kill themselves and give up. So the first thing I would tell anyone who is suicidal is get offline. I'd tell them to sleep 7 to 9 hours a day, uh, go to do social things. I'm a big fan of dancing, like put on some music and dance. It's a great activity. It's great for exercise, and music is fantastic for the spirit and for the soul. And make sure this person has other social supports if they're feeling despair and suicidal. And don't let them just sit and lie in bed all day. They have to get up and move and seek mental health support if the person really is talking about not wanting to live anymore. The truth is that life is precious, and as much as we're worried about the bad things that are coming, and they deliberately are trying to terrorize us, we need to regulate and decide. Somebody asked earlier in this live, if they're not feeling safe, what should they do? If you're not feeling safe, go do something and get safe. That's what my best advice. Life is precious, and we can't let the terrorists win. And they are their seed to their own destruction. Remember, Hitler shot himself. He committed suicide, So I want to thank my team. We went a little bit over. I appreciate you all. We're not alone. Please join me on my Substack, Dr. Stephen Hassan, my YouTube, Dr. Stephen Hassan. I'm cult expert on a number of other platforms. Sign up for my free email. If you can subscribe to my Substack or YouTube, I'd be very grateful. And we're looking for volunteers. If you have 5 hours a week and want to help message for us or help us blog, I have interviews from my podcast that need to get blogs written. Please come and contact us at center@freedomofmind.com. And thanks to Jerry, Cami, and the team for supporting this live stream today. Take care. Bye.